Okay, so what we're doing is attaching a raw file, and we've created a thread, and let's see if I can get it to work this time. Yay! Okay, so I'm just going to hit plus. I'm going to insert local files, and I'm going to add this raw file that belongs to Astrid, I think. And there it is. So see how it shows up as a link because it's such a large file, and then you just, submit. So there I've got my raw file. Let's see if it worked. Yep. Okay, so that was one thing that I wanted to show you because I know some of you were having trouble with that. All right, let's get back to our next victim. Okay, before we move on, I wanted to talk a little bit about, so Antoine's cut and paste, the thing that he put in the image was a little bit stretched. So I want to show you some tips about that. So I'll put myself out of the way, and I'm going to open up some images. So let's see. I was thinking about last week's work. And here we go. Let's check out Antoine's Spaceman. Oh, we can open that one in Photoshop. And then I want to open, I was thinking of a picture of the Earth. So hold on a sec. I know that's really cliche and whatever, but so there's no reason why we can't have fun. Okay, now let me show you how to show both images at the same time. So if I take you up a little bit, I don't know if I can do it. Okay, there. So you should be able to see the toolbar, hopefully. And sorry if I glitch, but you'll run into that. So if you go to Window and Arrange, you can go over to Tile All vertically, and then all your images that you've opened up will come down from the top. There's also Tile All horizontally, so you'll have one above the other, and you can do it. You can do, several images if you wanted to. It gets a little confusing, so I try to do just like 2 at a time. And then if we want to take this image, so I clicked on it so it knows what I'm talking about, and then I usually double click on it to make the layer unlock. And what I want to do is go to my Move tool. I want to select the subject. So hopefully you can see that the marching ants are surrounding that figure there. And then with Move tool being selected, I can click and drag it over to the next file. So now that I'm done with this, I just close it out. Not going to save it. And now I've got, this little guy on the Earth. And I want to inspect it a little bit more carefully. So I'm going to do my zoom in method, which is Command plus. And then I've got these little slider bars to help me get it kind of centered till I get as big as I want it to be. You can really get particular. So now when I'm getting close here, I can see these little parts that, are not so perfect. So in that case, I can just go to my eraser tool, which there it is. Let's see. Ooh, that's way too big. So for the eraser tool on a Mac, you can hit the left bracket and make it smaller. And I know there's a similar trick for a PC, but this is what I know, people. Ooh, that looks like it must be a soft brush. So I've just got to adjust it. It's very small, but the hardness. Ooh. Huh. Thought it was soft. That's interesting. So, but see, I can do some little bit of detail work there. Get rid of this little piece that doesn't belong until I can see the background. I can even go smaller and smaller and smaller and get in that little tiny crevice there. But from a distance, you know, you won't really see it. And then I can move up and just make sure that there's no other tricky parts, like I see right here in between the fingers. And then this is for, let's see, who was that? I think it was Sid who did her baby. Forgive me if I'm incorrect, because we're going to get to that in a minute. But see, I can just adjust until I feel like it's perfect, and then back up, take a look at it, decide where I want it to be. If I'm on Move Tool, I can move it around. La da da. I could put them on a chair, I could sit them on top of the world. Which would be kind of funny, right? Except I don't think we have much room up there. No. Okay, so you see what I'm saying. And then you would just do File, Save As to save the two together. All right, let's get this out of the way. See, I'm not going to save it. And back to, who was our next victim? Oh, I totally forgot. Ugh. What I was going to show you about stretching. Okay. This guy again. Excuse me. And this guy again. Again, we're going to select subject. This also works really good in Camera Raw filter or Camera Raw. And then we're going to go to Window, tile all vertically. I don't know why I like vertical better. I just do. And then we can move him over. Okay, let's say we want to make the space guy bigger. Make it a little bit larger. And I just want to make this part of it bigger. So what I can do is, I can do Edit, and then Transform. So Transform, there's all these things you can do. You could spin him, you could make him look crazy, you could distort him, you could correct his perspective, you could warp him, you could, you know, rotate him. We're going to do Scale. And so usually a little box appears around it. Oh, there it is. I just had to click on it. Okay. So now if I drag from the corner with that Scale tool, I can make him as big as I want without stretching him. If I try to just kind of stretch the image another way, it's gonna distort it. So that's the best way to do that. Okay, now that we got that, hold on. Okay, we're going to move on to Astrid. And this is one of her original photos. Nice and straight. And another one. And then this one. And I know they're not in order, Astrid, sorry. They just rearranged themselves according to the numbers and the letters. And then this is one of her edits. And all I can say is, oh my gosh, wow. You really changed this into an artwork, a digital artwork. So I'm curious as to where this figure came from, honestly. And I can see you repeated it, and you did some crazy cool things with that sky. But then the land itself, it gives it an air of believability. So I really like that. That's really cool. And then this one is so sweet. So this little character is shielding himself from the light. I love it. So well done. And then this one, you know, she took that first photo and she added all of these cartoon figures. Now, I must warn you, Astrid, if you are using copyrighted characters, you're not going to be able to call this your own just because of copyright laws. So I think if you have some OC, you know, original characters that you've created, that would be a much better choice. You could also go with generic type toys, but any image that is a copyrighted, you know, belongs to somebody else, whether it's their artwork, a toy made by their company. Not going to be able to use that in your final portfolio only because of those laws. But that said, I mean, super well done. Excellent work. And I love how the colors all work together in this image. That's really thoughtful. Okay, and this is Belinda. Belinda, I'm impressed. I'm impressed with this photo because I feel like you lightened the bird, duck, and then you increased the contrast in the background. So, you know, there's a little bit of darkness here now. So I think that that's really well done. I'm not sure if you did a linear gradient in Photoshop, because everything else doesn't seem to be darkened from left to right. But, you know, you really brought some more light to that bird. So I think that's wonderful. And this is your raw file, which I was able to capture. Soon as I opened it up, of course, it went straight to Camera Raw. And I think it's a nice image. And then this one, I was really looking at it carefully. I think I can see where you increase the saturation on the greens, for sure. And maybe even a little bit of the reds. Because, you know, even his like khaki pants are brighter, a little more red, and I can see a little bit more red here in the details. So I think you must have selected certain colors instead of globally saturating it, which is so smart. And then here is another one of your raw files, and you know, something that's really cool that you guys, you know, here you are in Alabama, and the things that you see are going to be different than things that other people see in other parts of the world. So don't ever discount your location, because it's always going to be interesting to people who have never seen this type of place. I would say, like, you know, my parents live in Pennsylvania, and so we see things like this in the farmlands. You know, people have their own barns, but it's so cute that there's like a little fire hydrant there. So you successfully showed me your raw files, what I'm saying. This one, it's really hard for me to tell the edit because it's very minor, but I believe what you did was you saturated the greens a little bit, so I can definitely see more green, especially here. And other than that, I think that's all that I see. But this is, you know, it's one of those images where we can have room for movement, and actually the lines of the grass beside the road itself, it's frames the subject. So very nice. And this is your edited version. I can tell it's more saturated, very nice. Got that turquoisey blue in the sky and ultra red hydrant. And here's your cut and paste. I think that is so sweet. And it looks like it's very well selected. It might look a little bit, tiny bit unnatural in the light. You know, the local light, which we would call ambient light. But if you had made it any darker, we might not have even seen it at all. So I think that you made some smart choices here, and that is just adorable. And I believe that's your edited version. Maybe a little bit more contrast. And then there's your fox squirrel, also a raw file. The only thing I have to say about this photo is, you know, well, good luck on capturing it. And I'm glad he modeled for you, or she. But it's such a narrow range of focus. So I see clarity in these branches, but in the fox squirrel itself, it's a little blurred. I don't know if you noticed that, but so when you're focusing, sometimes you gotta focus several times. And if you're using a camera, what I do is I refocus. You know, I put it on automatic focus, and then I might move back a little or might move forward a little and then refocus and try to get the object that I want the camera to, you know, be the focal point. I want it to select that one thing, that it's just like a little shallow plane of space. So I want to get to the subject that I want rather than the things that are surrounding it. So it can be tricky, but you can keep working on that. Hopefully you get another good model. Okay, now this is Bryce. Bryce, I'm so sorry. I know a lot of you were confused this week that I threw that video in there because it was actually for next week, so I apologize for that. Sometimes it's, you know, so much to do. But so Bryce did the bracketing, and what the bracketing is you take a photograph, you know, maybe you take it on auto and allow the camera to choose for you what the correct lighting is, and that would be your like in the middle shot. And then you're going to have to go to like manual mode and decrease either the shutter speed, which is an excellent place to start, or the aperture, but that's going to change the photo a little bit. So just by decreasing the shutter speed, you're going to get a much darker image because, you know, those little shutters open and close. And the faster they open and close, the less light you get. The slower they open and close, the more light you get. So shutter speed is a great, easy way to do bracketing. So this one is the darker, and then this one is the lighter. So we can tell by that washed out sky, because we had some color there and we don't anymore. We've got loss of detail and so on. So Bryce will be ready for next week. And then here's Bryce's cut and paste. And I think it's super well done. It's very clean. The only reason it doesn't really look believable is that he would probably be a little darker, for one. He would probably have a shadow which is something that you can fake in, you know, by painting it in. So you almost have to just experiment with that a little bit. But yeah, he would have definitely had a shadow with that low light. And I would have darkened him a little bit too. But for this experiment, I mean, super well done. I have no complaints. And then here is your shallow depth of field, which is also for next week. And notice that the foreground is clear and the background is blurred. So I'm going to say well done on that. Still can't quite tell if it was blurred manually or if you had your aperture larger, like a portrait mode aperture with, you know, the bigger your aperture, like the lower the f number, the more your close-up object is going to be in clear and in the distance going to be blurred. I get so excited about those lenses. I had to purchase I think I got a 1.4. So, because like on my camera, normally it only goes to like, I think 4.5 is the lowest, the largest aperture, lowest f number. And so it just wasn't giving me that super depth of field that I wanted. Of course, now there's all these apps that do that, but anyway. And then this was the one where you fix something. So from the Adobe assignment, so if you look here on the first image, we've got this broken tree, and let's see what else there was. Honestly, can't remember. Oh, the power lines. You see? So he took out the power lines and the broken branch that was interfering with this contrasty space here in the background. So that is super well done. And I think you're the only one that did that extra assignment. So bravo. That was on our list. And then Bryce, here is your RAW file, and you did that correctly because when I clicked on it, it opened right up in Camera Raw. And it's a DNG from your iPhone 10. So apparently that's the RAW extension for the iPhone 10. Alright, and here is your fast shutter speed. So you captured that, you froze that water in motion, and that's fabulous. Perfect. Isn't it so interesting, the shape that it's making? That's so cool. And this was a photo edit from your photo walk where you made it appear to be night. I think that is quite interesting, and what an interesting idea. And then here you tried to brighten up that what you call the city river, which is probably more like a sewer, I guess. And I think that it did brighten it up a bit. And your cut and paste is the envy of everyone. Everybody loved this one. My favorite thing about it is, you know, and in the videos, they really had trouble inserting the new guy because of the old images. They have completely different resolution and clarity, and they also have, excuse me, like a noisy grain. So in the older image, you know, we don't have a lot of detail. It's not sharp, and that's just because of the quality of the film. And then even though you added this in, you mimicked that the quality of that film and the grain of it, which grain in film now we call it ISO. So it used to be you would have to buy a certain type of film to go with what kind of shot you were taking. Like say you were taking a still shot, you would go with a lower ISO. If you were taking you know, something really fast and lots of motion, you would buy a film that had a higher ISO. So, you know, that's how now we just set it on our cameras. So very interesting and very thoughtful choices there, Bryce. Okay. Oh, and here's your what you called your old-timey photo. This just makes me think of Kodachrome, which is also a film. And yes, it was orangey, and the greens were, I don't know, so 70s. So if you've ever heard that Paul Simon song, Kodachrome, this is what they're talking about. It was a very special film. All right, here we go with Sid. So Sid's cut and paste. You had asked some questions. Your baby, oh my gosh, she's adorable. But you had asked some questions about how to do a better selection. And so I would point you in the direction of the example I did with Antoine's Spaceman and how I did it with the Earth. And I mean, you don't have any distortion in your image, which is great. But there are, you know, it appears to be cut out. So you might want to select the subject. If it's a raw image, you would do it in Camera Raw. You can also do it in Camera Raw Filter in Photoshop. And I think what you might have done is like Magnetic Lasso, which let me know if you're interested in using that tool, because there are some ways you can smooth out your selection. However, I still think the automatic subject selection is a little bit more accurate these days. But if you're interested in using that Magnetic Lasso again, I can show you a few tricks about that. And then this, I'm going to guess you selected your subject and then made the background monochrome, black and white, and it's just so bright and outstanding. Really, really cute. Pretty. And this one came out really well as well. So it's like desaturated in the background. And I wonder if you're seeing a flower behind another flower here. I always look at that like it looks like fingers, but I know it's not fingers, you know, some kind of tool. But that one looks great too. And there was our notes. And that's it. Wow. Okay, so I'm going to stop there, and then I'll write to you about anything that you were missing that you can turn into me, and don't even worry about it being late. Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.